Family Business Interview Media Project by Will Stevens. So what is the history of the business? The business, formerly known as Insurance Forms Company, was founded in October of 1947. They developed standard insurance wordings for property and casualty and forms companies in Canada. Prior to their startup, each insurance company developed and maintained their own words for the insurance policies they wrote up. By taking on responsibility of maintaining the words with superintendents of insurance in each province, they helped these companies to reduce time and cost of their business. In the early 1970s, they purchased two printing companies and entered into the manufacturing business. The company changed their name after Quebec introduced Bill 101. They developed an acronym which allowed them to have an unlingual name. They went from Insurance Forms Company to Informco. Informco grew from 1947 with just 3 staff, billing less than $150,000, to a peak in 1998 with 135 employees and $17 million in sales. Insurance companies grew and evolved over the decades, and Informco expanded into the FineCo market in the late 1980s. Printed material continued to evolve in the business-to-business market, and Informco entered into the digital printing market in 1998, and they began to complete personalized transactional documents for banks and insurance companies. Today, they generate and produce 20 million in personalized physical documents delivered through the mail and an additional 30 million documents electronically. So what is the history behind Informco? It wasn't always a family business. The two founders were not related, Hilary Stevens and Arthur Collison. In 1957, Hilary unfortunately died from a heart attack at work. Her son, David, inherited all of her interests and continued to work with Arthur Collison until he retired in 1964. Hilary's son, David Stevens, took on the minority partnership in 1964. David added other non-family partners when he acquired the business in the 1970s. He was a majority shareholder in the business with 80% of the shares. Later, in 1985, David's daughter, Carolyn, joined the business, and 3 years later, his son, Alexander, joined as well. David retired in the year 2000, leaving the sole ownership of the business to his children. Carolyn and Alexander have been running the business ever since. What are some characteristics that differentiate this family business? Family business is the bloodline of the Canadian economy. Most family-run enterprises are mom-and-pop shops with less than 5 employees. There's a fine line between work and family once the next generation joins the company. Alexander stated that the family/business have rules around their free time and work and family time. This can lead to better harmony for all the family members. Some other characteristics that keep things running smooth in their business is they are long-term oriented, they have strong family identity, and they have a great succession planning. Alexander's father was the main influence of why he started working for the family business. Alexander studied business at Ryerson University in the program called Graphic Communications Management, which was specific to the printing industry. At the time, there was over 1,200 printing businesses registered in the GTA. Printing was the 5th largest employment sector in Canada. Prior to working for Informco, he had 3 internship jobs in the industry. When he tried to work there full-time, they didn't take him seriously once they found out that his dad owned their own printing company. Instead, he interviewed with one of his father's partners, worked for him for 6 years, who taught him all about the manufacturing aspect of the business, and eventually he started working full-time at Informco. At Informco, it was always a big value to the upper management to reduce conflict as much as possible. Alexander says he always tried to keep business separate from family matters, but it wasn't always easy. But at the end of the day, his dad will always be his dad, his sister will always be his sister, and it was important to all 3 of them to minimize conflict and work through their problems together collectively. Growing up, Alexander always had a good relationship with his sister. They used to sailboat race together. She was the skipper and he was the crew. It felt normal and natural for them when she took the president role when their father retired. If you have a plan, a strategic plan with goals, targets, and objectives, it keeps the team in line. When the whole team understands the goals each year with monthly check-ins, it helps to solidify and create a unified team. Conflicts are avoided by including the key people. That being said, there's always going to be conflicts in every business. The succession of Informco was from Alexander's father selling him and his sister the business. He began the succession process the year after Alexander started, in 1989, 11 years before they actually struck the deal. Alexander's father attended meetings and conferences with other like-minded entrepreneurs that were looking to create a plan. They joined an association called CAFE, Canadian Association of Family Enterprises. He is still a member of this association 34 years later. They meet every 6 to 8 weeks throughout the year to discuss important issues and support each other. Alexander's father began buying back his partner's shares in the business in the mid-1990s. He created management teams and meetings with other non-family members. He introduced more structure and transparency in the business. This allowed others to learn and experience how the business is ran. He empowered them to run the business beyond the day-to-day items. The second part of the succession, the deal, was quite simple. He told Alexander and his sister what he wanted to do, how much they had to pay for it, and how long. Based on his proposal, they were able to fund and purchase through operational cash flows, 10% of the year for 10 years. It was a very fair and equitable deal. What made this succession so successful was good planning, good finances, and good management team for them to work with. Both Alexander and his sister had proven that they could drive this business forward, and the employees and managers trusted them to make the best decisions for Informco. In order for Alexander to have Informco to be run so successfully, there are some strict guidelines that he values very much. He wants to make sure that everyone's roles and responsibilities are clear and there's no confusion. Another thing he values for a successfully run business is establishing a robust governance structure that outlines how decisions are made in each circle. For Informco, this involves creating a family council, a board of directors, and a family constitution that sets out the rules and procedures. Of course, open communication and professionalism of the business is also very valued. As stated before, they also value the planning of succession, which helps with the smooth ownership transition period, as well as aligned values of professional advisors. One last thing that I thought was worth noting was Alexander mentioned there's been some compromises he's had to make throughout the years, the biggest being his wife having to compromise for him. Alexander being part of a family business in Toronto, with 100% of the clients being within 80 kilometers of where they live, limited where they can go. This meant it was impossible for them to move to another city if his wife wanted to work abroad. I guess the compromise was for her, but it limited how the relationship turned out. Thank you for listening.